ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Namaskar my dear friends. This is video number 10 on the human brain, an apparent bone of the omnipotent. This video starts with the supernatural potentials of the endocrine glands. The hormone secreting glands, the endocrine glands, are described as stars of the interior universe of human body in a book entitled Astrological Correlation with the Ductless Glands. The book further states that as the mutual dependence and cooperation of different planets in the solar system maintains the balanced existence of the entire system, so do the collective efforts of the ductless glands in regulating harmonious functioning of the mind and body. Under this analogy, the book compares the Agya Chakra, pineal gland, with the sun, pituitary glands with the moon, adrenal with Jupiter, and thyroid with Mercury. Semile of Mars is given to the parathyroid and Venus to thymus. The movements of the planets and the radiation emitted from their surface affect the matter on the Earth at molecular and atomic level and also influence the conscious elements, the psychological factors. The activities of the interior stars, the endocrine glands in the solar system, inside our body more intensely affect the functioning and conditioning of the latter at a physical, mental, and emotional levels simultaneously. The author of Occult Anatomy describes these glands as etheric centers and correlates their stimulation with the interplanetary conscious activities, expressions of cosmic consciousness. The material elements and the biomolecules in the living beings on the earth all receive the effects of cosmic activities through their own interatomic movements. The hormonal glands are also considered to be associated with the latent centers, chakras of supernormal energy. Their stimulation is associated not only with the activities at the physical level in the body, but also at the mental and emotional levels. Thus, in view of the author of the above book, these glands must be having some linkage with the subtler centers of a superior consciousness, which bestows a variety of boons on human beings through the hormonal activities of these glands. As per the research results of Dr. Charles R. Stockard, the expression of love, affection, compassion, and other soft sentiments is manifested through some endocrine hormonal secretions. If the latter are obstructed, one would develop an insipid, apathetic, and eventually a cruel personality. In his book entitled Anatomy of Emotions, Dr. Hazel throws light on the hormonal secretion mechanism and effects on protoplasm. In his view, the existence of Chetan in a human being is not there simply to maintain the vital energy, rather, it seems to serve the great purpose of sublime expression of the eternal self, the soul. It has absolute power of automating the enormous activities of the body and elevating the thoughts and intellect to the high realms of divine humanity. The mutual dependence of hormonal secretion on emotional status and vice versa is amazing. This implies that the origin and manifestation of the elements of life expressed in the hormonal functions have as much spiritual basis as the more obvious physical one. The source of their existence therefore appears to be in Chetan instead of Jada. Dr. Evo has emphasized the predominant role of hormonal glands on one's psychology and personality development in his book entitled Glands of Destiny. He cites the example of Napoleon Bonaparte, stating that Napoleon lost the Battle of Waterloo because his pituitary gland had become defective. He was therefore unable to take any decision in the mangled state of mind. He lost the opportunity of turning the strategic planning into his favor. The inference of Dr. Eves is based on the post-mortem report of the lethal corporal in which the deformation of pituitary gland was a significant finding. In terms of occult anatomy, the visible or perceptible components of the body and their activities do not form the system of life. The conscious energy working in even the tiniest form of these elements is the tiniest form of these elements is the real source of life. The subtle aspects of vital functions in the living beings are still beyond the reach of the knowledge attained in the fields of physiology, anatomy, and other biomedical sciences. In other words, our contemporary knowledge of our own body is yet incomplete. Consider the endocrine glands, for instance. Endocrine glands, for instance, very minute, almost negligible as compared to the amount of blood in our body. Quantities of hormones are secreted by these glands. The secreted amounts get dissolved in the blood and produce tremendous effects that are the source of normal functioning of human body and mind in many respects. How are these glands developed? What is the source of their existence? Why and what type of transformation take place in their activities? Why do the biochemicals secreted by these glands vary so much in nature? What is the mechanism of their significant effects on body functions? These questions yet remain unanswered. So far, only the manifestations in terms of normal and abnormal growth and functions of the body and behavioral aspects and chemistry of some of the hormones secreted by these glands have been elucidated. However, the research studies are silent on why from where these effects. Early research in neutral chemistry had found the presence of some hormones which are secreted by the endocrine glands and which relate temporary or permanent effects on specific organs or physio physicochemical functions of the brain. Advanced results have found newer secrets in terms of the anatomy of these hormones with the nature and inherent character of humans. In view of these, in view of their tremendous effects on regulating the physical, mental, and emotional states of a person, the hormone secreting glands appear like the fingers of a hidden juggler who makes the humans dance like puppets under the control of the hormonal threads. The internal hormonal and other neurochemical secreting system, the endocrine system, has long been a challenging puzzle for the anatomists and physiologists. Whatever hypotheses and inferences are drawn in one point of time, they are often required to be modified or changed after some time because of the newer or contradictory observations. The secrets of this system seem to be hidden behind such a gut, which get more entangled into a mesh of unknown facets whenever opened up a bit. As early as during the times of Louis XV in France, an anatomist named Puffy had conjectured the presence of a somewhat supernormal in terms of physical existence system in the body, which secretes special juices, chemicals that can significantly vary the functions of different components of the body. An Italian physiologist, Dr. Lustrathias, had reported a well-structured hypothesis on hormonal glands sometime in 1563. Later on, some researchers of the Vodex Institute of Science had thrown light on the Mujnil glands. Around 1850, Dr. Carlinge of Britain and Dr. Yeri of Paris had given experimental evidences to illustrate the remarkable effects of some hormonal secretions inside the body on the physiological and biochemical functions. Research in the fields of hormones, neurochemicals geared up gradually in the latter years. At present, the research on neurohormonal secretions and allied topics is one of the most active areas of advanced sciences. Dr. Louis Warman of Columbia University had recently published an article entitled Glands Regulating Personality to highlight the predominant role of hormonal glands in psychological makeup of a person. The author states that there are some special glands in the body which are tiny in size but colossal in effects, Besides their apparent role in controlling the organ development, metabolism, and other activities of the living body, they also have significant influence on the mental functions. Disharmony of some secretions may lead to the decline of one's personality in many respects. One can even go whimsical or insane because of such imbalances. An orderly, controlled, refined state of such secretions, on the other hand, might endow one with a courageous, foresighted, cheerful, charming, and talented personality. Corinne Helen's occult anatomy throws more light on the activities of these ductless glands. He has analyzed their effects on human psychology and shown the possibility of their connection with the spiritual powers. While discussing the questions of what is the relation of these glands with the sensory nerves or what are their anatomical positions, etc., the author argues that the drastic variations caused by certain chemicals, hormones, in the state and function space of the body and mind cannot be based on some physico-chemical reactions only. These astonishing activities are subtle in nature and appear to be governed by the latent effects of superconsciousness. The existence and wonderful functions of these glands thus seem to be direct manifestations of a divine power. The anatomical details on the size, location, and hormonal secreting functions of the principal glands pituitary, pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, adrenal gonads, and spleen can be found in any comprehensive book on anatomy and physiology. Findings on new effects of the earlier studied glands and the discoveries of new glands hormones are frequently reported in the corresponding research journals. Research on neurohormonal chemistry is also growing at a rapid pace and newer results are being obtained and reported almost every month. Detailed discussions of these neither feasible nor desirable here. It would be sufficient for us to note that these glands secrete some special kinds of biochemicals, hormones, directly into the blood system. The secreted hormones reach specific points in the body and the brain along with the blood and create wonderful effects. This, in normal conditions, results in efficient maintenance of orderly functions of the body and mind. Little imbalance or disharmony in the level, stimulation, or activities of these regular chemicals often causes irreparable damage or deformation in the normal growth or health of the physical and mental system of life. Some people are dwarfed, some grow high up to the exceptional and inconvenient limits, some suffer obsession and some are bony, some youths become impotent while some wander under the thraldom of excessive concupiscence in the old age too. Some bear the curses of dull mind, some are gifted by extraordinary brilliance and intellectual power, some overeat, some hardly eat anything. Some people can work around the clock every day having almost no sleep for several consecutive days, but some others, on the contrary, need sound and long sleeps as natural requirement for creativity in the awakened state, etc. All these diversities and abnormalities are caused by hormonal variations in general. These disorders are also found as responsible for sudden attacks of certain maladies, disability of specific motor or sensory activity, excitation or numbness of some parts of the body or of some mental faculties, etc. Despite this knowledge and multidimensional research on hormones, no specific method or mechanism has yet been discovered to harmonize the secretions or to retard the imbalance of normal hormonal levels. Oral or intravenous medicines have hardly any effect on the hormones secreting and related activities in vivo. A surgeon's sophisticated tools also have no reach there. Attempts of controlling a hormonal activity or regularizing its normal concentration by medication or surgical operations are extremely risky as they often perturb the fine-tuned natural functions of the tiny glands and or disrupt the efficacy of hormonal effects and thereby give rise to more severe abnormalities and disabilities. Transplantation of different organs of human body has now become possible because of the advancement of medical sciences and technology. However, no progress has yet been made on surgical operations of the hormonal glands. In case of kidney or lung failure, the damaged or diseased organ is replaced and the transplanted organ gives almost a new and healthy life to the patient. Legs, hands or ribs, etc. lost or damaged due to an accident or a disease can be replaced or given mechanical support to run the course of the body, but trying to surgical operation or medical treatment on the hormone secreting endocrine glands is dangerous like putting hands in fire. In pure anatomical terms, these glands do not seem to play any role and appear as unnecessary ab- abscess, which could be cut and removed without any apparent trouble. However, as stated earlier, doing so could invite abnormalities that might prove to be worse than death. Deeper research into the effects of hormones has revealed that not only the bodily functions but the complex mental reflections and emotions are also associated with the endocrine system. The endocrine glands play a major role in shaping the overall personality of an individual. Graham Hedges Crines has indicated that these aspects in his work on endocrine glands and body adjustments. He writes that until the recent past, the effects of hormonal secretions were considered to be more intense on the body and only partially associated with mental conditions. However, now these convictions have changed and we have to accept their dominance over the mental activities too. In his book entitled Machinery of the Body, J. Carlson has highlighted, beside the gross effects on sexual desire and reproductive potency, the effects of hormones on the psychological compatibility of married couples. He further writes that the inherent mentality of a child is also based on his hormones. Heredity and genetically connections are actively being researched these days at molecular levels. A natural question arises here as what is the original source of acceleration or suppression of the specificity specificity of a gene or a pool of genes. In-depth investigations on such issues would show that it is the regulatory machinery of the hormones which controls the transmission of inherent biological characteristics and behavioral tendencies from one generation to the other, and also gives originality to an individual. Occurrences of phenotypes and tendencies that are different from immediate ancestors are often attributed by the geneticists to the manifestations of the genotypes inherited from hundreds of generations ago. They tend to neglect the fact that the stimulation of specific hormone-driven activity can bring drastic changes in any generation. Professor Dorsey of the Endocrinology Department of the Chicago University has found the juicy secretions from the spleen as of utmost importance for proper functioning of the digestive system and the metabolic activities. He describes these secretions as regulators of the healthy functioning of the stomach and the intestine too. According to him, one's liking or disliking for different types of foods also depend on the spleen secretions, the ductless glands. The magic of the ductless glands has attracted researchers from all disciplines of biomedical and allied sciences. Major findings of the recent past are now well reported, and some of these have also appeared in the textbooks. There are seven principal glands in endocrine system, namely pituitary, pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, spleen, and adrenal. Pancreas and gonads are also included in this group of important hormone-secreting glands. The pineal gland, tiny like the tip of a pin, is located in the brain. This is associated with mental and spiritual development. This gland is considered to be the junction between the external gross and the internal subtle domains of life. This center is also identified as the third eye or the sixth sense. Expert yogic connect their consciousness with the activities of this visible as well as the subtle world through the medium of this important center. This center is also regarded as the origin of rousing afflatus and as the source of receiving divine light and knowledge. Contact with extraterrestrial bodies, ghosts, and divine spirits is believed to take place through this subtle communication center. The pituitary gland also lies in the head right above the root of the nose. Brilliance or sharpness of intellect, enthusiasm, sentiments of love and affection, power of self-restraint are generated and controlled by this gland. It also regulates the growth of body. Dwarfism or exceptional height are results of its malfunctioning. The diversion between manhood and womanhood also originates at this center. This tiny gland governs the transitions associated with puberty, youth, and reproductive potentials too. The thyroid gland is present inside the throat. It plays a major role in maintaining mental stability and development of one's nature. Emotional level and development of character also largely depend on the functioning of this gland. The state of this center is responsible for inducing acidi or alacrity, alacrity and enthusiasm. Slight overstimulation of this gland makes one impatient, anxious, agitated, or excited, prattler, etc. One almost loses his senses in this condition. Harmonious activity of the thyroid gland supports development of talents and overall elevation of personality. The parathyroid, a gland of the size of a grain of wheat, is closely associated with the neuronal system. In terms of mental and emotional effects, this gland contains the reservoir of courage to fight against injustice and immorality. It also arranges for the repair of damaged or sick cells, organization of ligaments and nerve fibers. It is a rich source of power for immunity and vitality. The thymus gland lies in the upper central part of the chest. This gland contains the power required for the growth and development of the embryo. If this gland is underdeveloped or functionally disordered, then the fetus will not receive proper nourishment even from a healthy mother. This is the principal gland that governs the normal development of an infant through the successive stages from childhood up to teenage and youth. In short, this is a regulator of growth and healthy development of the body. The spleen is the largest gland in the endocrine system. Metabolic activities, power of the digestive system, and the purity of blood mainly depend on this gland. Located in back side of the spleen, it also plays a major role in the activities of the nervous system. This gland has special connection with the solar plexus and the subtle body and is therefore considered to be responsible for transmitting the effects of cosmic activity to the body and mind. The adrenal gland located right above the kidneys is also called suprarenal gland. Its shape and size resemble that of a large seed of a kidney bean. Many of the natural tendencies and biological characteristics of male and female glands genders are developed through the specific secretive activities of this source. This center is also called the second brain. It triggers inspirations for taking courageous steps and appropriate actions in the situations of severe difficulties and crisis. Valor or cowardice are the results of different types of functions of this gland. The occurrence of change of sex are often triggered by some disorderly variations in the hormonal secretions from this gland. Gonads, the reproductive glands, regulate the activities of the genital organs and reproductive potential. The sexual strength and related youthfulness and the reproductive capacity of an individual depend upon the secretion from these glands. It is a common observation that in the old age all the sense organs are gradually weakened and the body loses physical strength. However, sometimes people nearing 100 or more years in age are found producing children like the young ones. Such unnatural and surprising events result because of the strong and healthy functioning of the gonads in those old persons. The progress of research on the endocrine glands is still in its infancy. The knowledge obtained by modern scientists on hormonal secretions is far from being complete. Still, whatever has been observed and analyzed so far is quite encouraging. Physiologists are surprised to find that the negligible amounts of hormones secreted by these glands are indeed the principal regulators of enormous functions of the body and the mind. The physical health of brain, heart, spinal cord, kidneys, liver, stomach, intestines, and other organs is commonly regarded as the basis of total health. Causes of diseases, if any, are also searched in connection with the possibility sick state of these organs. Hematological tests are performed to identify the presence of germs and viral infections. Pathological tests of stools, unripe saliva, etc., also used as indicators of the internal state of the body, and treatments are offered to rectify or remove the disorders or infections found through such investigations. However, ever since the remarkable role of hormonal secretions has come into light, it has become clear that the states and functions of different organs and the cellular and molecular systems are only the leaves and branches of the tree of human body. Its root lies deep in the core of the endocrine system. There are many examples where poor people who hardly eat any fatty substances are found to be very bulky. The fat or overweight of many people does not reduce despite leaving the use of potato, rice, sugar, and fatty eatables. Such observations indicate that obesity or weight of the body does not directly depend on the type of food. Similar facts are seen in the case of condition of individual organs and subsystems of the body. Even when the structure and physical health of the brain is normal, one's mind might become sick or overexcited, or his power of thinking might turn elusive, unreasonable, or insane. In such situations, treatment of the gross components of brain would not serve any purpose because the organs function like puppets under the regulatory control of the endocrine system. The latter is mainly responsible for efficient or defective functioning of the otherwise healthy faculties of the body and mind. In spite of significant progress in the medical sciences, diagnosis and care of disease is largely found to involve some guesswork on part of the physicians. Even in the case of minor diseases or complaints, sometimes the patients have to step the doors of several doctors one after the other throughout the life. They do not get much relief even after using all medicines ever recommended against that particular problem, and thus spending a lot of time and money in several hospitals and dispensaries. Very often it is seen that because of wrong diagnosis or incomplete treatment, patients do not get cured by any therapy. They try allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda, naturopathy, etc., but in vain. Although all these pathies have their own scientific basis and their experts feel confident about curing these patients, many times the patient's troubles are found to remain more or less same even if they undergo best available and recognized modes of treatment. Those who get cured by fluke after a long phase of history and misleading diagnosis and varied treatment seem to have received most of the positive effects from the internal struggle and latent activities of their subtle body too. The stoutness, alacrity, beauty, extraordinary potentials of different sense organs, resistively and vitality, etc., are no longer attributed to the physical strength and functioning of the body. Instead, the specific hormonal secretions are given most of the credit for such manifestations. The same is true in case of mental faculties too. If the dormant state of the intellect, hasty or elusive mentality, etc., do not change in spite of best psychological and medical treatments and sincere efforts of the persons concerned, The imbalance of associated hormonal secretions is identified as the major cause of such deficiencies. On the other extreme, sharp memory, bright intellect, sound reasoning, foresightedness, etc., are also considered as the gift of perfect order and efficiency of specific hormonal activities. Moving a step ahead from the level of body and mind, we find the deeper and altogether different aspects of personality reflected in the nature and character of a human being. These belongs to domain of convictions and emotions and thus bear upon spirituality too. The latent power of hormonal secretions seem to be associated even with the status of the inner self, expressed in internal tendencies and deep emotions. A natural question arises here as could morality and high ideals of life also be governed by hormonal reactions? Then what is the use of swadhyaya and satsang etc. in the development of personality? If the endocrine glands in some way are the principal regulators of the integrity of character and emotional purity, then we ought to review the present understanding of the method of refinement and sublimation of internal character and research deeper on the subtle activities of consciousness. In this context, it could be appropriate to consider the ancient Indian sciences of the Satya Chakras. These six subtle centers of etheric energy located in different plexus along the spinal column are junctions which link the human consciousness with the latent currents of conscious power existing in the cosmos and therefore affect the activities of their functional counterparts, the endocrine glands. The sadhanas of Kundalini Jagran involve penetration and stimulation of the Satya Chakras in an orderly pace. The effects of associated processing with the body may be understood in gross scientific terminology of if we consider the eternal connection of the Satya Chakras with the endocrine gland. This approach would explain how the spinal sadhanas are useful in regulating all aspects of personality development and opening the paths of all-round progress and elevation in a natural way. Most of us may want to understand how the awakening of the Satya Chakras and corresponding control and refinement of the functions of the endocrine glands could be accomplished by spiritual sadhanas. We will have to research deeper into the scriptures on yoga and study the subliminal effects of practicing the Satya Chakras sadhana. I conclude this video here and next video number 11 will start with the topic control and refinement of hormone. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Namaskar my dear friends.